Look, ever since it appeared, we've been consulting with him in communication. We have the channeled messages that say it's a supply extraterrestrial ship. That they on purpose have let themselves be seen and have manifested themselves blatantly to attract attention. I mean, do you remember that there were already American military spy telescopes and everything? They had already detected the Trace and Atlas at the beginning of May. I mean, we're talking about 2 months before the Atlas telescopes over there in Chile then. They kept it secret and never intended to reveal it. But the information, I mean, it leaked, we could say. It was made public from Chile, probably without National Aeronautics and Space Administration's authorization. And it's the same thing that happened when, in 2019, documents from the Pentagon were leaked or stolen.
We'll introduce Sixto Paz Wells for new viewers. We're live on Trasnoche Paranormal. He is a renowned Peruvian author and lecturer, a central figure in global, unidentified flying object research in these contemporary times. He is known for founding this Rama mission and for claiming to have maintained direct contact with extraterrestrials since 1974. What we were just saying is that this is the big difference between Sixto and so many other researchers who are currently playing a leading role in the phenomenon. Because he is a contactee, he doesn't investigate from a place of skepticism like most researchers. Sixto is already with us. Welcome to Trasnoche Paranormal. How are you? Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for the invitation.
It's an honor to have you here live. We've referenced your research often. And today, having you here live and in person so that not only we, but also the audience can ask you questions is truly an honor. Which country are you in right now?
I'm back home in Lima after my trip to Mexico.
You were lecturing, I guess?
I also attended a World Congress on the Unidentified Flying Object Phenomenon in Tijuana, Baja California, near Tecate. Among the researchers present were Allen Hynek's children, the prominent astronomer who advised Project Blue Book and other United States Air Force projects. So it was really interesting. There were some great ufologists from around the world, like Jaime Rodriguez from Ecuador. He invited Linda Moulton Howe, one of the great researchers, also from the United States, but she couldn't attend. But there were very interesting people and really presentations focusing on the unidentified flying object topic from many points of view, and that's what allows you to have an overall perspective.
How is it done? I'll start with the first question. Margie, who contacted you and is a big fan, is here with us. She often mentions you on the show. She was also the one involved.
Good evening, Sixto. I can't believe this, having you here, honestly. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation. I've been following you since 2021 with all your Unidentified Flying Object Tuesdays, where I learn a lot, so it's an honor to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you, Margie. It's a pleasure.
I'll start by asking about who you are, Sixto, regarding your investigation of the phenomenon. But from a place of certainty, because that's the big difference you have. I think that's what sets you apart from other colleagues, right? And you've just come from giving a presentation. The debate is rich because you begin with certainty, not skepticism. These days, being with colleagues can either help or hurt you.
First, many people have had extraterrestrial contact experiences. I'm just one more, and what I share, what I tell, isn't the story of Sixto Paz, but rather the story of a group of people of which I'm just one more member. So since there are already many contact groups, there are many people who have been contacted. There are people like Stephen Greer, a doctor and unidentified flying object researcher from the United States, from the Disclosure Project group, who has adopted the 4 steps of contact: breathing, relaxing, concentrating, and meditating. In scientific research, which is something we as a group have been doing for the past 52 years. So really, there is more and more openness towards the topic of contact, the practices, meditation, and introspection in order to facilitate the experience of contact. So yes, there are still some researchers who are more, let's say, more academic, more formal, and they believe that introducing everything related to the paranormal extrasensory perception makes you lose objectivity, but those are points of view and they are also respectable. My father researched UFOs as a hobby before I was born. My father was a scientific advisor on aeronautics and astronomy for the Peruvian Air Force, and in his free time he investigated the unidentified flying object phenomenon. He was close friends with Mr. Fabio Serpa and Mr. Pedro Romaniuk. So my father was really part of that group of ufologists. I mean, tough people, strong people. You know, about the subject, right? Along with Coleman Moskivinsky, Aimé Michel, Alan Hynek himself, Dr. MacDonald, and Pedro Ferris. Santa Cruz, known as the father of Mexican ufology, and Antonio Rivera, the father of Spanish ufology, all knew each other and shared information. So in that family environment, my siblings and I were born and raised. My father brainwashed us from a young age. I mean, since we were little, he taught us to think, not to believe that this was possible. In a vast universe, it's stranger to think there isn't life beyond Earth than that there is. I mean, the Earth is less than a grain of sand on an immense beach, and it's not the only beach. So why did we have to be the center of attention? I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
You know what, Sixto? Marky, you can start asking him now. A few days ago, during our radio show Paranormal Late Night, we also interacted with the YouTube chat audience. The question is, the poll was about exactly what you just said, right? What would scare us more? You know how humans immediately feel fear, especially of the unknown? What would scare us more, that the universe is full of extraterrestrial races or that we are alone? And obviously the answer that won was that we are alone. That would scare us more, right?
Of course, but as Carl Sagan himself said, right? If there were only life on Earth in the vast sea of the universe, it would be such a waste of space.
Exactly. Marky, go ahead.
Sixto, I wanted to ask you something. I've followed you since 2021, and remember, I would like you to tell us a little about the different types of contacts that exist, because I found many answers when you explained it. For the community.
Of course. Dr. Alien Hynek, this astronomer and astrophysicist from the University of Arizona, over there in the United States, Arizona and Colorado. Well, he determined 3 types of contact, right? The close encounters. The first kind is when the object is relatively far away and you don't know what it is. The second kind is when it's already quite close, right? But not close enough to define it. And the close encounter of the third kind is when you're really defining that it's something that's foreign to our reality. Now, we've developed a whole classification system, a little different, right? Which is the close encounters of the first kind. When you see something unknown that defies physics, known to us, an object that moves, I mean, it maneuvers in the sky, zigzags and everything. Things that can't be done by a satellite, plane, helicopter, or any atmospheric phenomenon. Of the second kind, you're at home when you suddenly feel a strong urge to go to the window, roof, or balcony. And suddenly you see an object in the sky that interacts with the witness, moving right to left, up and down. It gives you the impression that it knows you're watching it and that it wants you to see it. Something very similar to what often happens there in Capilla del Monte in Cordoba with the UFOs that appear among the hills. All right, close encounters of the third kind. You're at home in your room when a small luminous sphere suddenly passes in front of you. You see it, right? Because if you didn't see it and it only appeared in photos or videos, then yes, it would be an orb, which are like things from other planes and dimensions. But no, if you see it physically, that little sphere is called a canepla or Foo Fighter. It's like an extraterrestrial drone, like a remotely controlled television camera. They can be about 20 centimeters to 1.5 meters in diameter and are completely smooth with no bands or designs, just totally smooth like an extraterrestrial drone. Now imagine seeing these things in your house or suddenly spotting small spheres in the countryside that approach and scan you head to toe. Or you're driving, your car breaks down and you see an unidentified flying object land with its crew emerging. Or you're sleeping in your house and you have the so-called bedroom visitors. You wake up and at the foot of your bed, one or more luminous beings appear. So those are all close encounters of the third kind. Of the fourth kind, that's when they invite you to board the ship. Now, it's not an abduction, a kidnapping. No, they don't kidnap you. They invite you to board the ship. The human mind has a blocking mechanism that causes you to forget traumatic experiences. I mean, they invited you, but you never realized at any moment that they were there or that they invited you in. And in the end, you accepted. You experience it, then block it out and remember nothing. And if it weren't for the lost time, hours of your life that you don't know what happened to you, you wouldn't even know that this experience really happened. It wasn't a kidnapping or abduction. It was a close encounter of the fourth kind. The fifth kind is when they invite you to leave Earth with them. The Bible contains many examples of people invited to leave Earth. The case of Elijah taken up by a chariot of fire in front of an eyewitness, his disciple Elisha, the case of Ezekiel, who sees, and he is even invited to enter into the glory of God, which descends beside the river Kebar when the Jewish people were deported, exiled in Babylon. Or take Jesus, who, according to the Gospels, ascends bodily to heaven 40 days after his resurrection, taken away in a vessel. So there are many cases today of people who have had experiences like this. There's a movie called Fire in the Sky about Travis Walton's 1975 experience. He was there in Snowflake, Arizona. He was a lumberjack, and together with a group of coworkers, they finished working. And soon they see the forest light up. They think it's on fire. So they go, and in a clearing in the forest, there was no fire. It was a diamond-shaped, unidentified flying object. So the friends get into the vehicle intending to leave, but Travis Walton doesn't go and walks toward the diamond-shaped object. He stands underneath it, and the object shoots a beam of light, suspends him in the air, takes him inside the ship, and days later he returns. But it's like he consciously didn't remember the experience he had. They didn't chase or kidnap him. He went to meet the unidentified flying object and later didn't consciously recall what happened.
Sixto Margi, let me ask Sixto a few questions about the live chat. The first one might be obvious, but I think it's good to make it clear. In this second kind of contact where you feel the need to go out, I might have said this before greeting you. People at home may feel the urge to go to the terrace, see the sky, and notice that signal from afar. It's all telepathic.
And there are contacts. Of course, telepathy is the transmission of thoughts at a distance. You receive the mental wave and your brain automatically encodes and interprets it. Interpol, Scotland Yard, and the FBI use psychics to solve otherwise unsolvable cases. Prestigious universities such as the Sorbonne and the University of Moscow have scientific parapsychology departments, a branch of modern psychology. In other words, it's known that psychic potentials, clairvoyance, telepathy, dermoptics, xenoglossy or glossolalia, all those abilities and many more exist. Premonition and precognition mean seeing the future. We haven't developed it because we didn't know it existed or that we could develop it, let alone how. And it's very convenient, isn't it? Because politicians and religious leaders don't want ordinary people to read minds or see the aura, the energy field that surrounds them. Since no one could lie or deceive, everyone would reveal their true selves, leaving no future for politics or religious leaders.
You already addressed Alejandra Monzon's live question. How do you start making contact? Is it voluntary? And can someone train themselves?
Do what Margie is doing there in the chapel. Do the 4 practices of breathing, relaxing, concentrating, and meditating. When you breathe, you take in oxygen and energy, which then settles into your nervous and electrical systems, amplifying that energy. Your aura acts as a natural immune barrier, protecting you from bugs and entities from other planes and dimensions. Besides breathing, that energy charge also allows you to relax, eliminate tension, and direct the body's attention toward the mind. Usually, tension is spread throughout the body. All right, so learning to concentrate requires good relaxation to stop feeling the body. So when you relax, you can concentrate. And to concentrate is to focus your attention, to concentrate, to stop thinking about many things at once and start thinking about one thing at a time. And in the process, you organize your thoughts. Gradually, you learn to tell which ideas in your mind are yours and which aren't. So when you reach concentration, when you think about only one thing at a time, and in the process you come to distinguish, to recognize when the ideas in your mind are yours and when they're not, you are ready to release that thought and clear your mind, which is meditation. To meditate is to be alone and in silence with yourself. It's not thinking, it's freeing the mind from all thought. In that stillness and inner silence, you start to listen. The universe always communicates. It's humans who haven't truly learned to listen.
That's right, Margie, isn't it?
Yes, I wasn't thinking about everything I was saying. And for example, the different types of contact you just mentioned, right? I went through all of them. I went through all the different types of contact. And you know what, Sixto? I was with Ashtar Sharan on one of the ships, and he told me that he needed me. He needed me for my powers to go to a war. I refused and never returned to the ships. Well, I had that experience.
First of all, Margie, you can have direct physical contact. I mean, physical, you can have mental telepathic contact, or you can have astral contact in dreams. As interdimensional beings, we have 7 bodies to operate in the 7 dimensions of the material universe. Now, what you're saying is interesting because about 23,000 years ago, there were some bloody wars on the exoplanet. They were the so-called Orion Wars and involved many civilizations. Ashtar Sharan as the commander or admiral of the extraterrestrial fleet of the Confederation of Worlds. It wouldn't be surprising, since they can live for thousands of years, that he was involved in all of that. But these are wars that, although it's true they already happened, there are still some outbreaks of those wars going on. For example, there is a medieval engraving, well, it's not really medieval, it's actually Renaissance, from April 14th, 1561 in the German city of Nuremberg. You can clearly see people outside the city during the day. Suddenly, a cylindrical object appears in the sky, changing into a disc, half moons and crosses, with more discs emerging from the cylinders. They're fighting in the sky. Some explode, others crash to the ground. People saw these as signs of the world's end. After an hour, a spearhead-shaped object appears. An impressive triangular object about 4 kilometers long causes the other objects to regroup and leave in different directions. Ending the Galactic War in 1991 with the video now on YouTube. You can see the Earth's curvature from the Discovery Space Laboratory, and you can see an object trying to enter planet Earth. 7 other objects block its path and fire missiles or beams of light, forcing it to take an extreme exit angle and leave at high speed, the way it had come. On October 7, 1998, in the town of Paihuano in La Serena, in Chile, well, at 4 in the afternoon, in broad daylight and in real time, people were able to see how 2 UFOs were chasing a third one, and that third one ended up crashing into Las Moyacas Hill in front of the town of Paihuano. 400 witnesses in real time saw how the 2 UFOs brought down the third one, and the third one split in 2 and crashed into the hill. The Carabineros of Chile quickly surrounded the area, and the military appeared suddenly like Mandrake the magician. They appear out of nowhere and take everything. I mean, they even took the rocks. So the Holy Scripture says it. There is great violence in the skies.
Are we protected by them? I mean, is planet Earth protected?
Certainly, yes. Ships that have crashed on Earth, such as those in Paihuano, Varginha, Brazil, Roswell, and others, were shot down. Not with our technology, we couldn't even tickle them. Other ships protecting Earth have shot them down because they don't come with good intentions.
Therefore, yes, there are extraterrestrial races. So, as you say, Sixto...
They are harmful and not well-intentioned. The universe contains everything, just as Earth does.
Well, the battle between good and evil, no, but those races would come to destroy us. Why would they come with negative intentions?
Well, first of all, because we are a sociological, anthropological, metaphysical, extraterrestrial experiment, we are currently considered a very, very interesting project. And whoever takes control of the project can somehow take advantage of all the potential that the human being has. Margie just mentioned psychic potentials, and that's true. The extraterrestrials know we have limitless potential, but we remain unaware of it. Some people want to enhance human abilities, either for good or bad reasons.
Our colleague Pablo Sala has a question for you, Sixto. Go ahead, Pablo.
Evening, Sixto. I've heard you mention the scheduling of these encounters on several occasions, and I've seen you with a group of people. In Machu Picchu, for example, where we saw you organizing an encounter with extraterrestrial ships. Could you tell us about that, please?
Well, let me tell you, no. I mean, in places that are, we could say, so outrageously touristy like Machu Picchu, we're never going to have an encounter. Generally, it's done in places like the Chilca Desert, south of Lima, for example, or on the highway north of Lima at kilometer 120. Since it's desert, I mean, there aren't even plants there. It's desert. There are no towns. There's nothing. So, over these 52 years of contact, we've called the press to scheduled encounters in advance 11 times. Juan Jose Benitez, now world famous for the Caballo de Troya series, was the first journalist to join us for a scheduled encounter. When only one EFE agency correspondent remained in 1974, he joined us in the Chilca Desert. based on the psychographic messages of automatic writing, a type of instrumentalized telepathy. Well, Juan Jose Benitez received the invitation to join us, and he saw two objects appear in the sky performing maneuvers in the sky. He was so impressed that it shook Spain. He testified on Spanish television and published his first book, UFOs Save Our Souls to Humanity, with Blas Janés Publishing. The following year, Benitez returned with another journalist from the IFE agency, and again he joined us for another scheduled meeting, and once again the UFOs appeared. That's when another book by Benitez came out, 100,000 Kilometers Chasing UFOs, 11 times over 50 years. There's a saying, build a reputation, then rest on your laurels. Inviting the press once would have been enough and avoided the risk of them skipping the next event, since no one wants to look ridiculous. Why have we done it 11 times in these 52 years? Because for us, it's important to verify that it's still true, that on the other end of the phone line, there's really someone communicating with you. This isn't schizophrenia, a delusion, or imagination.
All right, thank you. And let me say happy birthday, because I know the day before yesterday was your birthday, Sixto. Thank you, huh? Thank you.
Very well, you don't look your age, 70 years old.
Well, look, like I said, I'm 70. My wife, unfortunately, Marinita, passed away. She died 2 years ago. We were together for 53 years in school. Just imagine, she was the best friend I've ever had, and really, life has really given me the chance to meet truly wonderful people, to have all kinds of close encounters with the most amazing people, and to learn from everyone and everything. Not just extraterrestrials, but also extraordinary earthlings.
That's so cool. All right, Pablo, Cynthia is here too, our colleague Cynthia Barros Ortiz, who has a question for you, Sixto. Hi, Cynthia, go ahead.
Hi, Sixto, evening. My question is the following, because seeing not all the contactees and the experiences and all this power that these beings are supposed to have, why do they need us as humanity? Why do they contact us, and why do they ask us, sometimes through dreams or through these mental contacts, to do certain things?
Very good question. First, no one knows everything. Everyone, no matter how wise, has something to learn, and everyone, no matter how humble, has something to teach. It's like ethnologists, anthropologists, or sociologists visiting a lost Amazon tribe. You find a group of people who live like humanity did 300,000 years ago, like the first Cro-Magnons, and you find that these people, it doesn't look like cancer or diabetes. They don't abandon their partners, they don't kill their partners, they don't abandon their children, they stay together, they live in harmony with nature, they don't kill, they don't hunt for sport or anything like that. Who ultimately needs to learn from whom? So they're also coming to learn or remember things. Imagine advanced civilizations that progressed technologically and mentally, but sacrificed emotions and feelings. Someone who believes emotions and feelings are only for children. It's a very primitive, very basic stage, and now we have to give more importance to the psychic part, the mental part, the rational part. There comes a point when you even become cynical about love, because you can't really express or show or truly maintain feelings and emotions. You need to reconnect with your emotions and feelings, both for yourself and others. It's no coincidence Master Jesus said you must be like children.
And how can we tell when a contact is benevolent or when the one contacting you is from the negative side? Is there a way to recognize it?
Of course there is. I mean, experience teaches you. First of all, every contact experience has to meet a series of requirements, and every real contact requires as a basis a good antenna, receiver, or a good contactee. A good contactee must be healthy in body, mind, and spirit. A person who is not physically healthy has all their attention scattered throughout their body, is sick, cannot concentrate, and even less can channel. A person who is not mentally healthy. It's like a broken radio picking up multiple stations, just noise, no music, and an unhealthy spirit vibrates at a low frequency. What types of entities will he encounter? You must wait. They are ready physically, mentally, and spiritually for a contact experience. Always try to have the contact experience in a group, as group energy helps, collaborates, and greatly enhances the reception. A good antenna must humbly accept criticism from others and practice sincere self-criticism. Always consider mentalism, subconscious influence, and imagination. A good antenna is someone who must have the discernment to also know how to choose the best moment, the best place, the best reception conditions. You won't get a message in a nightclub or on a bus. A good antenna also has to be a disciplined person, because discipline strengthens willpower and willpower reduces the margin for manipulation or defeat. The first requirement is a good antenna. The second requirement, every genuine message from extraterrestrials, ascended masters, angels, or beings of light must be coherent and logical. These beings can't travel so far just to say nonsense. A true message is timeless and universal. Each reading, now or later, reveals something new and doesn't get exhausted with one read. Anyone who reads it can understand it based on their own comprehension. You don't need someone else to explain it. Besides, these beings are so evolved that they are able to say very complex things in a very simple way. They never say simple things in a complex way. They are not politicians.
One last question, may I ask, Hector?
Sorry, Sylvia. Another key point, true messages complement, never contradict, and aren't just repetitive or easily verified. And what is the verification? The verification is the announced sighting by prior appointment. They tell you a specific day and time so you can go with other people, not for you to go alone, but for you to go accompanied by others. They can confirm if there was actual contact.
Okay, the last question was, first I'm going to share something that happened to me, something I've never told anyone in my life. Sixto Bueno, I'm taking advantage of your presence to share it. At one time, I was contacted by a being named Antarel. I had no idea who this being was. Honestly,
From Alpha Centauri.
well, honestly, I had never heard that name in my life. My life, well, is very ordinary, very normal. I never talk about these things. And for a while, I was scared and I started having interference with electronics, for example, with the computer. The computer was something like leaving my mouse in one spot on the screen. And then the little arrow would start moving.
Your video froze while you discussed the interference, Cynthia.
Okay.
But go on, okay?
All right, okay, I'll continue. The little mouse arrow started moving towards certain words on my computer, and then an opportunity started to happen. And the screen changes without anyone, without me touching the mouse. It changes to a certain image and ends up showing me different things at different times. Different places here on the planet, among them the Lechihuanas, are here in Argentina. I was supposed to go there, but it started moving. I even have proof of this, so if anyone wants to call me crazy, because I never talk about these things, since there's a lot of prejudice, I have proof. I wasn't alone when this happened to me. I was with groups of friends who witnessed it. We recorded the computer screen. When this happened, highlighting the words and knowing, at one point, I actually got scared. I said, don't contact me anymore, because it was always like a message, like you said, timeless. And honestly, I just thought, well, I'd rather distance myself a bit from all this, have my normal life, and feel like I'm not so caught up in this so-called spiritual journey. I felt deeply connected to something beyond, not so much to Earth. And I started working, making money, doing my normal life things, and I traveled to some places. And the question is this: can they contact us through electronics too and give us missions? Because this is also what I was left wondering. What should I do with this? Must I remain in phenomenology?
Answer to both questions, yes and yes.
Okay.
What do you need to do now? You already know the answer. I mean, you have to wait to start connecting the links, the pieces of the puzzle, so you can get an idea of the whole picture. Don't get desperate, just be patient.
And I'm telling you this with a bit of fear, and my body is kind of shaking a little, because honestly, and I'm showing you, I have never shared this publicly.
Yeah, let me see. If I remember you, I remember one thing.
This publicly makes me...
Yes, they select the people they want to get in touch with. It's not that one person is better, but that they realize some people can connect them to a wider group, What use would contact be otherwise? With someone experienced who, due to prestige, refuses to share or reveal it for trivial reasons? That's why it makes sense they contacted you.
And something happened. While Cynthia was talking, I want to ask Sixto if this is something you're obviously super used to happening. The internet, the connection, the link we have with Cynthia started to freeze. I mean, was it just a coincidence or not?
There are no coincidences in this universe.
I loved it. I loved it. Listen, Sixto, I want to ask you something and then I'll go back to Margie again. I don't know how many minutes we have, Sixto. We don't want to take up more of your time. Just let us know when you're ready to say goodbye. No problem. And in any case, we'll reconnect at another time. But I'll ask you one that's about current events. Everyone in the chat is saying, Hector, ask him about the 3-Eye Atlas. Ask him. So I'm asking you about the 3-Eye Atlas and everything that's been talked about in this last semester.
Yes, look, ever since it appeared, we consulted about it in communication. We have the channeled messages that say it's an extraterrestrial supply ship, that they on purpose have let themselves be seen and have shown themselves openly to attract attention. I mean, remember that there were already American military spy telescopes and everything. They detected the 3-Eye Atlas in early May, about 2 months before the Atlas telescopes did over in Chile. And they kept it secret and had no intention of making it public, but the information, it leaked. We could say it was made public from Chile without the authorization, probably, of National Aeronautics and Space Administration. And it's the same thing that happened when, in 2019, they were leaked as well. They took documents from the Pentagon and brought them to National Geographic, a science magazine that never covers UFOs. However, in its March 2019 issue, the headline read, "We are not alone." Leaked Pentagon documents surfaced, and 6 weeks later they appeared on the Washington Post's front page. UFOs exist. This fact can't be denied. And from that moment on, one after another, public hearings began before the United States Senate Intelligence Subcommittee. But none of this would have been possible if information and documents hadn't been leaked, if there hadn't been someone on the inside who released information considered classified. That's what happened with the 3-Eye Atlas, an extraterrestrial craft. A comet will never change the position of its tail to slow down when it gets to the sun. A comet will never stop and change its speed, and even less stop completely, no. And a comet will never change its color from red to blue or blue to red. It clearly avoids getting too close to the planet so it won't be captured by their gravity. It always passes exactly along the edge. Also, it's following a route that's the same as the WOW signal route. A signal that in 1977 came from the Sagittarius Nebula, and it was a technological signal. All this happened in 1977, which is why it's called WOW. It's following the exact path of the 1977 radio signal. All very suspicious.
Last one for you, Margie and Sixto. Thanks for being with us tonight, Margie.
Well, I have 2 questions. Actually, I wanted to know your opinion about the sightings that are happening on a massive worldwide scale. What do you think about that? And the message they want to leave for humanity?
The message they come to give us is that the world is not going to end, the world is going to transform. Change begins with personal transformation. No political system or religion will change humanity. It's an individual, non-transferable process. And the prophecies were not given so that they would be fulfilled, but so that they would not be fulfilled. It's always a warning so we can correct our course. If the future were inexorable, where would the most sacred thing that human beings receive from God be, which is free will? And regarding the increase in unidentified flying object sightings in the year 2023, in the month of May, a new public hearing was held before the Intelligence Subcommittee of the United States Senate, and all the top executives of National Aeronautics and Space Administration were called. And they were asked, do you investigate or not investigate the unidentified flying object topic? And they said, well, the truth is yes, well, we do. We no longer know what we're seeing or looking at. Then, at that moment, C.N. Kirkpatrick appeared, who is the liaison between the Pentagon and National Aeronautics and Space Administration, declaring, no, National Aeronautics and Space Administration does know what they're seeing. They are enormous cylindrical objects, each over 100 kilometers long, that have been recorded on video and in photos from the International Space Station, which orbits Earth at an altitude of 400 kilometers. They're releasing short-range craft, such as flying vehicles, and those disc-shaped objects are also releasing spheres. that was said publicly in front of the United States Senate by Sean Kirkpatrick, and appearing on the big screen there with him was Avi Loeb, the astronomer from Harvard University, saying, yes, this is true, exactly as stated. So just imagine, we are talking about the 3i Atlas being between 5, 6, or even up to 19 kilometers long, when cylinder-shaped craft up to 100 kilometers long have already been recorded orbiting Earth by the International Space Station. They're releasing ships and drones or drovnis, which are spheres also known as caneplas or Foo Fighters, and these are the remotely controlled television cameras I mentioned earlier.
Well, Sixto, we want to thank you for being with us tonight on Paranormal Late Night.
Please.
Almost 40 minutes of conversation and a lot of knowledge and experience. We send you a big hug from Buenos Aires, Argentina, and of course, this is your home too.
Thank you. I also want to let you know I'll be in Santa Fe during the first half of April. I've invited you to give some lectures and everything over there in Argentina.
Wow, we're going to go see you, then we'll see you in person. Thank you, Sixto, for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Sixto. It's an honor.
Thank you. A hug to you all.
Congrats and big hug to you too. Bye. What grade, Margie? This applause is for you too.